Bonjour. Good morning, everyone. I'm Carole Beaulieu. I'm the Vice President of Advancement here at OCADU University. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging the ancestral and traditional territories of the Mississaugas, of the Credit, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat, who are the original owners and custodians of the land on which we create. A warm welcome to the Honorable Carla Qualtrough, welcome Minister of Public Services and Procurement and Accessibility, and to all of you, bienvenue. On behalf of Sarah Diamond, our President and Vice Chancellor, and also Robert Luke, Vice President of Research and Innovation, we are so delighted to host you here today for this very important announcement. In celebration of Canada's third National Accessibility Week, we are pleased to be a part of today's event. OCAD University holds the unique distinction of being Canada's oldest and largest art and design and digital media university. Art and design have evolved beyond aesthetics into a fundamental strategy of solving complex problems. As a university that values accessibility, cultural diversity, and equitable global citizenship, we value the Government of Canada programs that support these values. We believe that a more inclusive Canada needs everyone's contribution. OCADU is proud to support the Inclusive Design Research Center under the direction of the formidable Dr. Huta Treviranus. The largest center of its kind in the world, the center's goal is to make sure that everyone can participate in shaping and using the systems and networks that are transforming and connecting our society. Congratulations to Huta, the director and founder of the Inclusive Design Research Center, for being a leader in inclusive design. And just a side note, I heard about Huta by reputation many years ago, as I was part of the Ontario effort to bring in new accessibility legislation, and I heard about this wonderful leader in the community, and I'm pleased to be able to work with her today at OCADU. Huta will be speaking in a few moments, but before I introduce her, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Minister Qualtrough to proceed with the special announcement. Minister?
Thank you. Wow. First of all, thank you for inviting me to be here with you today. And of course, thank you to the Ontario College of Art and Design University for hosting this really exciting event. I really want to commend the university for your innovation and your leadership and for challenging us all to think inclusively. It's a pleasure to be here today as we celebrate, of course, National Accessibility Week, which is our third annual national week devoted to inclusion and accessibility. So from May 26th to June 1st, we celebrate accessibility, inclusion, and the contributions of Canadians with disabilities in our communities and our workplaces across Canada. Il est tout à fait approprié pour moi d'être ici avec vous aujourd'hui, alors que nous concentrons sur les jeunes Canadiens et sur la façon dont nous les appuyons dans leurs efforts pour bâtir un Canada plus accessible. That's why I'm here to announce several initiatives, you all might want to get comfortable, to support young leaders in their efforts to build a more accessible Canada. I trust that the investments we're making will have a positive impact on so many people and communities across our country. Throughout my time as Canada's first ever minister responsible for accessibility, I've visited countless universities across the country. Time and again, I see the kind of leadership these institutions have taken in making their buildings, their programs, and their resources accessible, because they know that by doing so, more students will enroll and graduate with the skills and knowledge they need to succeed in the workforce. OCADU is no exception. You have taken leadership in breaking down barriers to accessibility so that more students with disabilities can get an education. I'm happy to announce, on behalf of my colleague, the Honourable Navdeep Bains, Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development, that our government is supporting OCADU with a $1.7 million investment to develop a new coding platform. Yes, we should clap. That's pretty exciting. develop a new coding platform that will support the participation of students with complex learning needs and will share critically needed classroom resources to support educators in inclusive learning. I'm going to go off my script for a second and tell you about my experience having just walked through a bunch of the work that's being done. So I'm legally blind. I only have 10% corrected vision. And I went through elementary school and high school in the 70s and 80s where we didn't have any of this. I didn't learn science in a way that got me to understand spatial, or I didn't know pH like I just learned it now. Because we were told time and time again that we just couldn't do something, right? Sorry, Carla, you can't learn science the way everybody else learns science. Read a book about it. Or I'll read, I'm really touched at what a difference you are making in the lives of so many kids like me who really didn't have these opportunities before. Which brings me to the students from the Beverly Public Schools who are here today. Where are the Beverly School students? Are you guys all here? Yay, you're around. There you go. So their school is an important partner in this project that's helping to design, test, and evaluate the inclusive coding environment and educational resources creating through the project. En tant que personne en situation de handicap et ancien étudiant universitaire, je comprends à quel point la technologie moderne est importante pour réussir. Je suis convaincue que l'investissement fédéral aidera les étudiants en situation de handicap à trouver la technologie nécessaire pour soutenir leurs études. Now, the next announcement, I'd like to turn your attention to our Enabling Accessibility Fund, or EAF as we call it. As many of you know, the EAF is a federal grant and contribution program that supports community-based projects across Canada aimed at improving accessibility and safety in public spaces and workplaces. Through the 2018 call for proposals under the youth innovation component of the program, young leaders from across the country identified barriers to accessibility and partnered with local organizations and businesses to remove barriers in their communities. It gives me great pleasure to announce that 53 Canadian organizations are receiving over $430,000 in funding for projects under the youth innovation component of the EAF. This funding will support small-scale construction, renovation, or retrofit projects that increase accessibility in communities and workplaces and enable access to community programs, services, and employment opportunities. So now with the 2018 project announced, as in 30 seconds ago, it's time to launch the 2019 call for expressions of interest under the EAF Youth Innovation Component. Youth interested in making a tangible difference in their communities by improving the quality of life of persons with disabilities through small-scale accessibility projects are invited to apply now. So that was 2018, but now we're doing 2019 quickly. Il s'agit d'une occasion pour les jeunes leaders de s'associer avec une organisation ou entreprise locale afin de présenter un projet d'accessibilité qui pourrait être financé grâce au Fonds pour l'accessibilité. I'm also happy to announce, we just keep going, the launch of 2 new calls for proposals for the disability component of the Social Development Partnerships Program. One call will support capacity building within national disability organizations, and the other will support innovation within the disability sector. With respect to capacity building, this call for proposals will focus on building a stronger foundation for the leadership of youth with disabilities. Our government will be providing $900,000 over 3 years to promote partnerships between youth-focused organizations and national disability organizations, while also facilitating the organization's sustainability and stronger succession planning. We need youth leaders. For innovation, this call for proposals will provide $1.8 million over 3 years to support projects that aim to identify and test innovative approaches to improving the financial situations of Canadians with disabilities living in poverty. But we're not stopping there. As part of our efforts to make post-secondary education more affordable for all Canadians, including persons with disabilities, Budget 2019 proposes a $15 million over 5 years to modernize the Canada Student Loans programs. This one is very near and dear to my heart. This investment includes a focus on making the Canada Student Loans program more reflective of the needs of students with a disability. This includes several important changes, such as increasing the cap on the Canada Student student grant for services and equipment for students with permanent disabilities from $8,000 to $20,000 per year. Game-changing. This will help students with permanent disabilities afford the necessary services and equipment for their studies. This is a significant enhancement that will have a tremendous impact on the lives of students with disabilities. Beyond these investments, our government recognizes that more can be done to ensure that Canada is accessible for everyone. That's why our government has introduced Bill C-81, the Accessible Canada Act. This proposed legislation will create the framework to transform how the Government of Canada and federally regulated sectors address barriers to accessibility while proactively identifying, removing, and preventing barriers in a number of areas. Ce projet de loi est revenu à la Chambre des communes hier pour un débat final. Nous travaillons d'arrache-pied pour qu'il devienne loi d'ici l'été. Yesterday, this law was back in the House of Commons for a final debate, and we are confident that this will become law before this House rises. Building a more inclusive Canada requires everyone's contribution. By giving young Canadians the tools they need to make their communities more accessible and more inclusive of persons with disabilities, we give space for innovation and creativity. The investment that we're announcing today reflects our collaborative approach to removing barriers so that more Canadians can enjoy their communities, find jobs, and contribute to Canada's economy. I'm delighted to have made these announcements at OCADU, a university that is truly taking leadership and modernizing its resources so that students with disabilities have the tools needed to succeed. It's partnerships like this one between OCADU and our government that help build a more accessible Canada where everyone is fully included. We've made great stride in advancing accessibility in Canada, but of course there's still a lot of work to do. I'm confident that the best solutions to accessibility are still to come from our future leaders. Let's continue to work together to create a truly accessible and inclusive Canada for all Canadians, because as the coming improvements here demonstrate, when we work together, real change happens. Thank you. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Congratulations.
Wow, amazing announcements and legislation as well, which is the toughest thing. So thank you, Minister. Merci beaucoup, Madame la Ministre. And I'd like to welcome Huta Treviranus, Dr. Treviranus, to make some remarks.
Thank you. It is such a great honor and such a lovely pleasure to have you all here. Everybody talks about Utah, but in fact, I'm only the lucky mouthpiece for an amazing community. And we couldn't do anything without all of you gathered here and all of the help, and many more, of course, that couldn't be here as well. And it's lovely to finally have you here at the center, Minister. Right from the minute you took office, we felt very, very strongly that we're on the same team, working towards a really critical and important goal here in Canada, and determined that Canada should be a leader in this essential set of goals and objectives that create a thriving world. At the Inclusive Design Research Centre, we're convinced that people with disabilities should not just gain access to the essentials of life, but participate fully in creating them, not just be viewed as consumers, but also as producers of the resources, applications, and products that we depend upon. Not just be regarded in decisions, but also to be at the decision table, helping to make the decisions. And an amazing example of the things that can happen is what you have done within the federal government. Not just people to be studied, but people that create knowledge, help to find new knowledge, and to extend our innovation. At the Inclusive Design Research Centre, we're guided by 3 dimensions of inclusive design. Recognize that we are all very unique, we're all very different, and we need to create a system that encompasses that breadth and depth of that uniqueness in an integrated way that includes everyone and that stretches to those boundaries of our uniqueness. Enable everyone to understand also their own uniqueness. We want to also create a process that supports what Minister Qualtrough has committed the federal government to, nothing without us. Inclusive design is not about inviting people to a system that was not designed with them. It is about inviting people to help in designing the system from the start. And lastly, we exist within a complex adaptive systems of systems. We can achieve benefit for all. This is an important point that I think is often missed when we talk about disability and accessibility. Inclusive design is essential for people with disabilities, but it is also critical for creating a thriving, innovative society. And one of the things that we've and I'm going to shorten what I was going to say. I always go off script, right? Basically, one of the things that I think we've discovered lately as we look towards the proactive intervention in many of the research systems and technologies and innovations that are coming about in Toronto and in Ontario and in Canada and around the world is that we need to ensure that this is integrated into everything that is emerging. Intelligence, because we are dealing with artificial intelligence, with smart systems, with big data at the moment, that understands, recognizes, and includes participation with people with disabilities as active participants, is better able to respond to the unexpected, detect risk, adapt to change, transfer to new contexts, and we create a system that has greater longevity. And we've also discovered that it may disrupt some of the issues that we're facing at the moment, including disparity and the challenges that we face as a country and as a nation. So we are honored to be on the national and global team with Minister Qualtrough to make sure that Canada and the world does not miss out on the opportunities afforded by stretching our systems to include everyone, especially individuals with disabilities. And thank you all for coming. Why were there in the back. I don't know. Maybe we should ask the photographers. Yes. And we invite you to continue to enjoy the displays and talk to the many people who have been participating and creating the many projects that have already been done and the many projects that we hope to do in the future. And thank you all for coming. And we're so honored to have you all here. And thank you for your ongoing support and help in this important goal.
Merci, everyone. This concludes our official remarks. Minister and Huta will be available for media and more photography. But please enjoy the tour and coffee and yourselves and ourselves. Thank you.